we're putting the focus on Bay Area athletes.
I never forget the name on the front of the jersey, the Philippines. I was born and raised to be extremely proud of where my family comes from.
From stories of inspiration.
I like the independence that gives me, unlike other sports. As someone with a disability, you always need help.
To hard work and perseverance.
I always just look up to them and I want to be just like them. So seeing them move quickly on the ball makes me want to work hard in practice and be just like them when I grow up.
We're highlighting accomplishments that don't always get the recognition they deserve. Sports Focus starts right now.
Welcome to a special soccer edition of Sports Focus. I'm Christina Rendon. We are so excited for the FIFA Women's World Cup to be airing right here on KTVU Fox 2, the biggest stage, the best players. We are dedicating this show to soccer stories around the Bay Area, and we kick things off with one man who has been instrumental in coaching almost every World Cup champion to ever play at Stanford University. Stanford women's coach Paul Ratcliffe sat down with KTVU's James Torres to talk about his 2 decades on the pitch.
Good seeing you. Have a good summer.
Paul Ratcliffe is a guy who doesn't forget much.
2017, I'll always remember Andy Sullivan scoring an amazing goal for us. Last PK taker, and she slotted it in, and then everyone went crazy, and she slid, and they all dove on her. So really exciting time. I'll never forget that moment.
Ratcliffe is the women's soccer head coach at Stanford University, a position he's held for 20 years, where he's won 3 national titles.
Stanford's been very good to me. I think the thing that keeps me is the relationships with the players. I feel like I grow here. I learn from my student athletes.
Athletes you might have heard of if you follow soccer. On the U.S. World Cup squad right now, there is Kelly O'Hara, Alana Cook, Sophia Smith, Naomi Girma, and Andy Sullivan. There could have been a 6th through Alyssa Thompson, but she decommitted from Stanford and decided to go pro instead.
She came to our youth camps, and I already knew things I wanted to train her on and help her grow even more. So I'm bummed I don't get that opportunity, but so happy for Alyssa and so supportive of her. She's gonna be a star.
And if it weren't for injuries and other obstacles, there could have been more players to show off Stanford's pride, with the likes of Kristen Press.
The 4th goal was scored by the U.S. It's Kristen Press again.
And Caterina Macario.
Another one for Caterina.
In total, about 18 women from Stanford have played at least 1 match for the U.S. senior soccer team. One of the most famous, Julie Foudy, before Ratcliffe's time.
When I think of the ones that are on the World Cup team, all of them were captains here at Stanford. And the leadership that they learned has helped them get to that highest level in my eyes. So I think there's a lot of reasons for it, but yeah, I think coming to Stanford really can set you up for greatness.
And that greatness reaches beyond U.S. borders. Cardinal pride will be seen in Ireland through Kyra Carusa, in the Philippines from Kaya Jota, who has verbally committed to play in 2024, and through New Zealand's captain, Ali Riley, entering her 5th World Cup, who Coach Ratcliffe admittedly says is his all-time favorite player.
Her work ethic was amazing, her personality, the way she brought everyone together. That's the most important thing to me, is can you bring all of your teammates together and get the best out of them. I've always teased her and said I would love to have her come back and coach with me because she's amazing, but she just keeps playing.
Ratcliffe says the most important skill to teach is quick and efficient decision-making. That and the education these women receive at Stanford, he says, makes them stand out on the international stage. And when he sees his players there, sometimes as world champions, he says that's when he remembers how rewarding this job can be.
That's probably the thing that makes me emotional, is to see them at the top when I know how hard they've worked to get there.
James Torres joining us now, our resident soccer expert, as we like to call him. You love soccer, you've been watching closely. It's not just Stanford, though, that feeds into the soccer culture. Really, the U.S. is well represented at the World Cup.
Yeah, if you broaden it out from California out to really the rest of the country, you'll notice, and if you've been watching the World Cup for the last 2 rounds, you'll often hear some of the stories of these players. They were born in California, or they play in California, they play somewhere in the U.S., no matter what country they're from. You look at Team Philippines, 18 out of 23 of those women were born in the USA, 9 born in California. California in particular was attracting a lot of these best athletes, these best coaches, simply because they had really good weather.
Let's talk about the longevity aspect too, because we heard Megan Rapinoe's retiring. A lot of these players are at the end of their careers here, a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of legends, a lot of women who have been doing this since the early 2000s. I mean, you have players who are entering their 5th, 6th World Cup. That's 24 years of playing international soccer at the highest level, which is absolutely insane. Bonta, who is said to be one of the best Brazilian, the best international World Cup players of all time, has more World Cup goals than anyone, men's or women's. At 37 years old, she announced this will be her last World Cup. Christine Sinclair, who has been a nightmare to the U.S. historically from Canada, entering her 6th World Cup. She's retiring at 40 years old. We also have Anome Ebi from Nigeria, 6th World Cup, retiring at 40 years old.
In terms of the future, I mean, this sport is still getting young girls into the sport, and Team USA has a bright future with all the newcomers.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about USA. The next generation always looks good here. And we talked about that in that Stanford piece, too. We have names like Alyssa Thompson, who's just 18 years old, who has ridiculous speed. Sophia Smith, who's in her early 20s, amazing footwork. Naomi Girma, who's playing some really significant roles in the national team as well. All really young players who in the next 4 years will continue to be significant and really a nice impact to the team as we see in the future.
Really exciting to watch. I know you're going to be watching closely. We will as well. And we hope that you watch with us. We're actually going to be hosting some watch parties. You can find all of that information. There'll be food trucks, music, and more. You can go to our website, ktvu.com/World Cup. The game of soccer is loved by so many kids, especially in Richmond, where they are advocating for better access to the sport. The Richmond Soccer Coordination Center says the city only has 1 public soccer field, despite having 3 youth soccer clubs. At a recent city council meeting, kids and adults gathered at Civic Center Plaza to show support for an agenda item about the potential for new soccer fields.
Most of the Richmond community here is first generation or recently immigrated, so we view soccer as an integral part of our culture. We don't see it as something that requires thousands of dollars a year to be able to access. So we're really fighting to assure that soccer remains accessible, affordable, and fun for our kids here in Richmond.
The group say they are hoping to create a partnership with the West Contra Costa School District so they can get priority to use their fields in Richmond, as well as lobbying the city to build new fields for the kids. Well, turning now to a youth soccer club from the East Bay, a group of girls taking their soccer talents overseas, Sydney, Australia to be exact. KTVU's Jason Applebaum caught up with some of the players prior to their big trip down under.
Before these women got here, it wasn't that long ago they were honing their craft on youth soccer fields, much like this one. And for these young Bay Area soccer players, the success achieved by the U.S. women's national team is what dreams are made of.
Definitely inspires me because these are all women who started playing soccer like I did and have clearly put in a lot of work.
I just love seeing them and being like I could be there one day, like in that stadium, and it's just like really cool to think about.
Evie Adicott and Nika Bruno, both age 14, are members of the Oakland-based Association Football Club, better known as AFC, playing for the highly competitive under-15 academy team.
There are cones there for a reason, ladies.
Led by head coach Dave Barrett, the team ranked as one of the best in Northern California last season. At one point, going 5 straight months without losing a game and making it all the way to the State Cup semifinals. In addition to great coaching and talented and dedicated players, perhaps the biggest key to their success has been
Chemistry is a big thing for us. Chemistry. I feel like not only on the field, but off the field, our team has a great bond, and like we lift each other up and we work well together. I mean, a lot of us have been playing with each other for a really long time. So then when we're on the field, it's all like we're using that together. Like we make certain movements or communications just great.
And now, many on this close-knit squad are among a group of AFC players with the opportunity to travel to Australia to catch some of the World Cup games in person.
So excited. It's just going to be like such a different experience. I've never been to Australia before and out of the country without my parents.
There are lots of like representations from like the Bay Area, which is like where most of us are from. There are a bunch of girls playing from like Cal, from Stanford.
I'm looking forward to seeing like the level that I would need to be at if I were
to be pro.
In addition to getting the chance to watch world-class soccer, the trip will also include so-called friendlies, with the AFC girls taking the pitch and playing against teams from other countries.
It's just a cool experience that we can offer.
Andy Holbert is the director of coaching for AFC.
Take the soccer out of it. It's a great opportunity for some of these kids to go and see different parts of the world, get them to watch games and play against teams from other countries and meet new people, and just have like one of those once-in-a-lifetime experiences.
And in the Bay Area, where girls' youth soccer is booming, it's clear the U.S. women's national team has played a huge role.
I always just look up to them, and I want to be just like them. So seeing them move quickly on the ball makes me want to work hard in practice and be just like them when I grow up.
While it may not be the World Cup, these young players will put it all out there when AFC's season kicks off August 5th at the Mustang Stampede tournament in Danville. And halfway around the world in Sydney, Australia, a Women's World Cup champion will be crowned 15 days later.
Jason Applebaum, KTVU, Fox 2 Sports.
And check it out, the girls already arrived in Australia. They hit the ground running. They started with a training session at Wellington Park, just north of Sydney, and then it was off to Stadium, Australia to watch the host country play its opening match against Ireland last Thursday. In all, the girls will watch 4 World Cup matches and play in 2 friendlies against local teams. Coming up, a unique group of athletes in power wheelchairs put their skills on display in the South Bay. How the San Jose Earthquakes are supporting power soccer. But first, another look at what makes the Women's World Cup so appealing to young girls.
These are all people who have also started like I have and have played a long time, and I want to be like them.
My favorite player is Rose Lavelle. I think watching her in the last World Cups, I think she's always been super inspirational. I think I love her ball skills are super great, and she's great at creating space. She's great at maneuvering out of tight situations, and I think she's just such an inspiration for me.
Have you ever heard of power soccer? It is designed to be inclusive for people with disabilities, played by people in power wheelchairs. KTVU South Bay reporter LaMonica Peters has more on how the San Jose Earthquakes partnered with the San Jose Steamrollers at its most recent community night event.
As fans headed into PayPal Park to see the Earthquakes play Seattle, they were also able to see a different kind of soccer match in the parking lot called power soccer.
They're amazing and way more skill than can even imagine.
The Steamrollers began in 1988 and was one of the first teams to help form the U.S. Power Soccer Association. Power soccer is the first sport designed for power wheelchair users who have physical disabilities like cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, and many others. Lola Grace, who's now 21, has been playing since she was 10 years old.
I like the independence that it gives me. Unlike other sports, as someone with a disability, you always need help. But with this sport, you can do it by yourself. So I think that, and like the competitiveness of it, I do love as well.
The wheelchairs move by using this controller, and as I discovered for myself, the players make power soccer look a lot easier than it really is. John Connolly, Steamrollers head coach and father of power soccer player Ryan Connolly, says the sport allows players to build self-confidence, learn group dynamics, and problem solving.
It gets them out into the community, and so that that warms my heart, right? And it provides some interaction with other players, right? And other people like themselves.
The Quakes Foundation supports the Steamrollers by raising awareness about power soccer and assisting with travel expenses and buying equipment.
We've had some of our first team players go out and visit their practices and games, and it's just been so awesome to see them kind of elevate their platform and show a different aspect of how you can play soccer and how they're able to play.
LaMonica Peters, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
The Homeless World Cup Soccer recently wrapped up in Sacramento. It was the first time ever this event took place here in the U.S. Every player involved has experienced being homeless at some point in the past 2 years. Organizers say it's the Cup's mission to help improve the players' lives and change how people see homelessness. This tournament represented people from more than 40 countries. She represents the Philippines, and she just so happens to be the daughter of high-profile politicians in the Bay Area. Up next, a look at the journey of soccer player Reyna Bonta to the World Cup.
I think she's had a lot of opportunity to think about what it means to be trailblazing. And I think if you're a woman in sports, you are a trailblazer.
My favorite player is Crystal Dunn because she's like a defensive player and I'm also like generally a defensive player.
My favorite is probably Alyssa Thompson because she's pretty young. She's like 18, like super young, like literally like could be like one of us.
The daughter of some of California's most well-known politicians is making her debut at the Women's World Cup. Her name is Reyna Bonta. KTVU's James Torres sat down with Assemblymember Mia Bonta to talk about her pride as a mom watching her daughter play for the Filipino women's national team.
First appearance, it seems, here from Reyna Bonta.
October 9th, 2022, Reyna Bonta makes her international debut for the Filipinas, the women's national soccer team from the Philippines.
I never forget the name on the front of the jersey, the Philippines. I was born and raised to be extremely proud of where my family comes from.
Her family, California's Attorney General Rob Bonta and Assembly member Mia Bonta, two parents who couldn't be more proud.
I think for her and for our family, it speaks to what it means to be the first of, right? Her father is the first API Attorney Generals. I'm the first Black Latina Democratic legislator. I think she's had a lot of opportunity to think about what it means to be trailblazing. And I think if you're a woman in sports, you are a trailblazer.
Today, Reyna, number 23, is a defender on the country's FIFA Women's World Cup squad in New Zealand and Australia. This is the first time a team from the Philippines, men's or women's, has ever qualified. According to FIFA, her eligibility allowed her to choose to represent from 3 countries, the Philippines, Puerto Rico, or even the United States.
There was a path for integration and for participation with the Philippine team, national team, and she worked really hard, had to go to many combines to be able to be considered, has traveled all across the world to be able to have, 2 hours on a field.
Reyna chose to represent Ground Zero. She grew up in the East Bay, eventually becoming the #1 star at Bishop O'Dowd High School and spent 4 years at Yale. John Nishimoto was her high school coach. He's flying more than 13 hours to New Zealand to watch.
I'm definitely going to be emotional watching that because it's just a great experience. And for me to see, to know all the things Reyna did as a young person, when it's difficult to make the right choices for your pathway and your goals and what you want to do, she really did that. She was an amazing leader for me during the time I had to be with her and watch her grow as a young person, but to watch her and follow her as she's moved on to Yale and in her professional career.
Reyna's family will be there too, watching all 3 group stage matches. They say years of infinite hard work, sacrifice, and love for the game made now 24-year-old Reyna Bonta the perfect player to be part of this moment in history.
I'm really excited that we're going to get to see her live and in person. As a mom, I think for the most part, I want her to be able to live in this moment and to really be able to take it all in, be in her head and in her heart, and to just make sure that she doesn't leave anything unquestioned. She just leaves it all on the pitch.
I'm James Torres, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Coming up, making soccer accessible to kids in the Bay Area, the organization that brings the game to underprivileged children in San Francisco and Oakland.
I just love being competitive on the field, and it's just the adrenaline rush. It just makes it really fun, and just wanting to score the whole game, and then finally getting that feeling. It's really great.
For our final story, we turn the focus to an organization called Street Soccer USA. Their goal is to make soccer accessible to underprivileged kids and those living below the poverty line. KTVU spoke with the girls in Oakland about the game and their excitement about the Women's World Cup.
Street Soccer USA is a national nonprofit. We have chapters all across the country.
Maddie Phillips is a program manager in Oakland for Street Soccer USA.
Our mission is to use soccer as a vehicle to strengthen communities. And we do that by our methodology, our curriculum, the way we show up in our communities.
The coaches motivate me and help me to get better and teach me new things.
These girls play in Street Soccer USA's after-school programs. There's also community clubs and street leagues, all designed for kids ages 6 through 18. The organization's mission is to fight poverty and strengthen the communities they serve through soccer by making the game available to all regardless of a child's circumstances.
All of our programming is free. We make sure we meet kids right where they're at. You know, here we're playing right here in their backyard at school to make sure that it's as easily accessible for their kids and they can jump right into it.
Phillips says they serve more than 500 kids every season in Oakland and San Francisco.
You have fun. I like it because it's calming for me, even though I get some tired. Sometimes you can play like with your friends, play with another team. And you can meet new people.
We noticed that our girl enrollment starts to go down, especially around 3rd and 4th grade. And so that was telling us we needed to do something. And so we started all-inclusive girls teams.
It was really great.
Those all-inclusive girls teams are especially excited about the FIFA Women's World Cup on KTVU Fox 2.
I think more girls should start playing soccer because we can form a bigger girls team and get into tournaments and games.
And our girls can see them and know that can be me.
Phillips says their goal is to empower young players, teaching them teamwork and overcoming challenges. Aside from turning them into great players, they want these kids to feel safe in the space they're playing in.
That's why we spend so much time, especially in the beginning of a season, making sure our teammates know each other.
It feels good and I feel really proud of myself.
Thank you for joining us on this special edition of Sports Focus as we celebrate soccer and the FIFA Women's World Cup right here on KTVU Fox 2. I'm Christina Rendon. We'll see you next time.